Thank you, Governor, so much for that wonderful introduction. We put this timer on. We will stop on time. Leave you. There we go. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you all again. How many of you all were here this afternoon for the breakout session? Did you have a good time? Come on, let me hear you. Did you have a good time? There we go. There we go. Hopefully I was able to add value to you individually. The presentation was for organizations, volunteer organizations, but the presentation was also for business owners and businesses as well. And so hopefully I was able to add value to everyone who's in the room this afternoon, because it is imperative that we make sure that the foundation of our business and the foundation of our organization is built on a remarkable culture of excellence. And I just had a remarkable time with all of you today. I'm going to take the time once again to say that I bring you greetings from Rotary District 6450. That is in the Chicagoland area. And I served as the president of the club 2 years ago. Currently, I serve as, I need to update the bio. Currently, I serve as an assistant to our district governor, Ms. Debbie Ross, and she sends her greetings. We talked last night. I took pictures of all the beautiful things and small little gifts and things that their governor sent up to the room, had waiting on the room. I said, hey, Gov, you guys got to up your game. Because Judy is not playing around. Then I got to my room, and I had an envelope, and the check was there, and also there was a tip in there. I said, look at this. Man, this is nice. So I told my governor she's got her up her game, and she said, we'll do. So, yes, I bring you greetings from that district, and the club is the Maywood Proviso Rotary Club there. And I just want to say thank you to a couple of people. And I said this earlier today, but I want to be sure that everyone hears this. I want to say thank you to this wonderful person I've had the opportunity to meet, and her wonderful husband. Thank you all, and your wonderful assistant. She's remarkable. Can you do me a favor and give her this assistant a hand for me, please? She's remarkable. She's absolutely phenomenal. She came and picked me up, and she was driving, and we were going down all of these side streets. I said, what is going on? She says, I like to drive the side streets to avoid the traffic. I said, there is no traffic. She said, well, she's just used to that in California, so I enjoy my time with her. She's just wonderful, and she's been there for me every step of the way today, and I just want to say thank you to her. And then most importantly, thank you to the Champaign Rotary Club, all of the individuals at the Champaign Rotary Club. Ms. Janet Nelson, can you wave your hand, please? I am here because of that lady, and give her a hand. There we go, there we go. I'm a member of Dr. John C. Maxwell's leadership team, as Julie mentioned, and I do deliver keynote addresses, and I also facilitate leadership workshops for organizations. Anyone, I had a couple of people asking about that afterwards. Anyone interested in my services for your organization, your company, I'll be around all evening. Feel free to come on up and let's talk about it, okay? I need 2 volunteers. I need 2 volunteers. I need 2 people, please. 2 volunteers real quick. We got 1, 2, can you come on up? As they are coming on up, let's give them a hand. We're gonna come right here. We're gonna come right here. Tonight's presentation is coming from one of my favorite books, Dr. John C. Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and we will be addressing 2 of the laws in this book. If you can see, I know it's dark in here, you can see that it is well worn. Do you see that? That's because outside of my Bible, this is my second most favorite book. And anytime I'm having trouble in business, anytime my kids are getting on my nerve, anytime things are not going as smooth as they should be going with my family, I take a look at this book, and one of these chapters helps to navigate me through the circumstances. So I highly recommend this read for anyone in the room, okay? Now, we're about to have some fun, okay? Listen, it is 2000, and let's say 2 years from now, 22. It's 2 years from now. We want to know a couple of things, okay? We're gonna put ourselves in the future. We want you to forecast and let us know how are things looking in your organization, in your club. Let us know how things are looking from a membership standpoint. Let us, if you want to let us know that, how things are looking from a community service standpoint, how things are looking from, let's say, the environment inside of the club. Let us know exactly what is going on with your organization. We're going to do this one at a time, okay? Now, this is the time when you guys are going to help out, okay? So when you see me put up the number 1, I want everybody to repeat and say, on your mark. And when I put up the number 2, I want everyone to say, get set. And when I put up this number 3, we want everyone to say, grow. Okay? So, everybody, we're going to do a practice, one practice shot at this. Here we go. One practice shot at this. This is on your mark. This is get set. And the third one is grow. Everybody ready? Okay.
On your mark. Get set. Grow.
Okay, hold on. Now, slow down a little bit. You guys are going fast. Are you
Ready to go.
Are you ready?
Ready to grow.
You ready? Okay. We're ready to hear from you, okay? That was a test. They're ready. So you're ready. Okay, let's go, guys. Let's do it.
On your mark. Get set. Grow. And then I just answer all those questions?
Tell us what's going on in your club 2 years from now.
Our club is doing dozens more community service projects. We have, 10 or 15 more members. We are excited at every meeting, not just kind of going through the motions. We switch tables and meet new people instead of sitting all at the same table. And we, when somebody talks about a service project or a social gathering, everybody participates and everybody goes.
Let's give her a hand. That is awesome. Are you ready? We want to hear what's going on with this club, okay? You ready? All right. Let's help her out, guys. Here we go. Get set, grow.
Okay, so our president in 2022 will have been head of community service for several years, so she has us doing at least 2 or 3 events a month. We have started a virtual club at that time, and our Rotary club that we support has over 100 members. We are the first club to have the Explorers Club, which is boys and girls, and so we will have expanded that as well. We will have the retired district governor, and she will keep us going because there are no rhinos in our club, which is Rotary in name only. So we keep working to make our community, our state, and our world a better place.
Hey, let's give them both a hand. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it so much. Thank you so much. Okay. She said it fast. I've never heard that term. What is rhino? What is that? Say it again. Rotarian in name only. You learn something every day. Thank you for teaching me. Was that awesome? We got the opportunity to hear from leaders in the clubs to see what it is that they are projecting the next 18 to 24 months with their organizations. And that's just absolutely phenomenal. Well, let me play that game a little bit. I'm taking a look at my club, the Maywood Proviso Club. As I stated earlier today, we went from 18 members to 36 members in a year. Then we went from 36 members to 50 members. Now we're hovering somewhere around 45, 46 members. In 18 to 24 months, we'll be at 100 members. There's no ifs, ands, and buts about it. We'll be at 100 members. And it's going to take hard work. It's going to take strategizing. It's going to take following a blueprint, and it's going to take everybody working cohesively together. We're going to get to that point. That's what I envision locally with my club. This is what I envision statewide. I care about the state. 2 or 3 years ago, Rotary International recognized our club, the Maywood Proviso Rotary Club, as the fastest growing Rotary Club in the entire state of Illinois. I care about the whole state. That's why I hop in a car and I drive all the way down to Champaign to be with Janet and to be with all the fine folks at that club. That's why I'm going back down to Champaign to be with other clubs in that area because I care about the whole state. Care about it a great deal. So I took a look. I had Brian King. He's over membership for RI. And I said, Brian, hey, send me some numbers. I want to know, give me the numbers for all of the clubs in the state and pretty much give me the numbers for the largest clubs in the country. So he sent me the data. Bloomington, you are rocking. You hear me? I mean, you got it. Give yourself a hand. I mean, this is just amazing what is going on in Bloomington, what is going on in Champaign, and other parts of the area. So Champaign, when I took a look at the numbers last year, these clubs were over 100 members, right below 200 members, give or take. Some of them 130, some of them 140, some of them 180. So we took a look at the Champaign West Club, the Champaign Rotary Club, two or three of the clubs in Bloomington. Can somebody help me out? What are the 2 or 3 clubs that are over 100 members in Bloomington? Can somebody help me out? Sunrise, another club. Normal, and Bloomington, those 3 clubs. That is just unreal. So those 3 clubs, and then we have Rotary 1, which is the first Rotary club ever. That's the first Rotary club that Paul Harris started. He and some buddies of his, they started that club. What year did they start that club, guys? 1905. And why did they call it Rotary? Everybody knows their stuff in here. And so then we have Peoria. We have a couple of clubs in Peoria. Peoria is at 185 clubs. Peoria North is at 155 clubs. And just on and on throughout the state. I clearly see all of these clubs that I just mentioned in 18 to 24 months doubling membership. Doubling membership. It's possible. It is possible. The larger your club, the easier it is to grow. Because you already have so many remarkable leaders. And in a moment, you're going to see that all they have to do is pick up the phone. All they have to do is shoot an email to X amount of people. And then X amount of people are going to come. And then half of those people are going to love it. And then half of those are going to join. It's simple. I don't know why. It's simple. Let me keep going with this here, okay? And now let's look at the clubs all around the world that are over 500 members. That is remarkable. We're taking a look at the Houston Rotary Club, Atlanta, Long Beach, Oklahoma City, Seattle, and San Diego. Oklahoma City is sitting at 615 members a year ago. 615 members. I clearly see those clubs going from 500 members to a community. And they'll be at about 1,000 or 1,500 members. And that can happen 18, 24, 36 months. That is feasible. Talei, you're crazy. You gotta be crazy. How do you think a club is gonna go from 500 members to 1,000 or to 1,500? This is a tried and true method, and here it is. How to experience explosive growth. Tools for growth. Be sure, if you have not done so, implement the tool that is called Zoom. Anyone knows what Zoom is? There we go. His name is Nash. Nash reached out to us, and he had heard that our club was doing some trend-setting things, and he says, somebody told me that you guys are live streaming your meetings. And I told him, yeah, we're live streaming our meetings. And he asked, how do we start that? And this is what I told him. I said, Nash, he's over the rewards program for Rotary International, great guy up in Naperville, his club. I said, hey man, I was at the installation for a district governor, 6440, that was the district. And I was at the installation for that district governor up there, great friends up that way. And a gentleman came up and he was an RI director, please forgive me, Robert Hall, that's his name. And Robert Hall was an RI director at the time, or former director. He got on stage and he delivered a phenomenal presentation. I knew the material because I'm a member of Dr. John C. Maxwell's leadership team. Robert is from Atlanta. Dr. Maxwell is in Atlanta now. I said, come on, you know I know that material. I said, that is phenomenal. That's a wonderful presentation that you just delivered. And when I walked up to him afterwards, listen, if I think that we can move forward and we can get things done together, I'm going to come up and I'm going to introduce myself. You guys have seen me. I've come to pretty much every table to the best of my ability. I said, Mr. Hall, listen, I would love for you to come to our club and give a presentation. This was before I knew he was in Atlanta. He said, do you know I live in Atlanta, Georgia? I said, wait a minute, hold on a second. We're working on trying to live stream our meetings. We haven't found the tool yet, but I am positive we're going to find it. He said, hold on. You're working on live streaming? He says, as an RI director, I'm live streaming already. I said, would you look at he? Talk to him. He says, well, I use a tool called Zoom. And I conduct my monthly or quarterly meetings as a director for that part of the country, the southeastern part of the country. And I meet with the governors or the past district governors in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Georgia, Texas, and then the Caribbean. And I meet with all of the leaders of Rotary in that area. And everybody is on one screen. And I can see them, and they can see me. And we interact, and we are engaged in our meetings, and that is how I conduct our meetings. I said, that's phenomenal. I said, Mr. Hall, you're going to be one of our speakers, and you're going to use Zoom to be our speaker. He said, hold on a minute, young fellow, hold on. I said, sir, it's going to happen. Trust me when I tell you, we're going to make this happen. A month later, Mr. Hall is in his home in Atlanta. In his beautiful home, how I know because I saw it on Zoom. He's at his beautiful home, and he's in his den, and he's sitting down at his desk, and he's presenting his presentation to the Neighborhood Proviso Rotary Club in Chicago. I like that. You can give it a hand, I like that. And thank you so much. And so the meeting was phenomenal. We had people who got up, and they stood in line, and he saw all of our members, we saw him, and they were asking him questions at the end of the meeting, just to absorb the knowledge and the experience of this remarkable man. And the program just went in a phenomenal way. So I highly recommend everyone to start using the tool Zoom. As I was talking about my good buddy Nash, he reached out and said, I heard you guys are using it. Tell me a little bit more about it. We are in negotiations with the CEO of the company Zoom, and we are about to negotiate a deal where every Rotary Club in all of the world will get a discounted rate for using Zoom. Tell me how it's working for you. And now all of you, all around the world, you all are able to use Zoom at a discounted rate. Isn't that phenomenal? Isn't that phenomenal? And so we worked that thing out, and now a lot of people are using Zoom. Well, how did it benefit you, Talei? How did it benefit you? This is how it benefited us, okay? And we're going to get to programming in a minute. We had a fantastic speaker to come and speak at our club, and then we promoted it to a few other people. And I had a friend who knew a friend who knew a friend in Nigeria. And I sent her the flyer. And then I sent her the video footage, the TED Talk of our speaker. Well, guess who was our first Zoom person, or rather, to be a part of Zoom, to participate with us via Zoom on our first meeting. Her name is Nama. She's assistant governor in Nigeria. And it was about 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning her time, though it was 12 o'clock in the afternoon our time. But she was able to participate in that meeting, had a remarkable time. We connected, we interacted, we engaged. When she came up to Chicago last month, we went out, had drinks, danced, partied, and had a great time. And it all happened because of interaction and engaging, and it happened through that tool, Zoom. We had a couple of more meetings where we had phenomenal speakers, and what I started to do was, I started social media. I hope you got it, social media. So I started to tag influential people in the community on the flyers. And if I tag those influential people on those flyers, that means that I call them influential because they've got 500 plus friends, and they have a remarkable circle of influence. And I started tagging these people, and all these people started to learn about the remarkable speaker who was coming to the meeting. And so one of those individuals, she was a member of the club, she had a friend in Dallas who saw the flyer. The friend in Dallas inboxed me. I'd like to learn more about this speaker and your event. And I told him you can participate via Zoom. He participated via Zoom in Dallas, Texas. A month later, he joined our club. We have 2 members in a whole other state in Dallas, Texas. And they performed our first community service project as a member of our club, a homeless shelter in Dallas, Texas. All because of Zoom. Let's keep going. Be sure that we implement the tool Zoom. Here is the most important tool, and I just talked about it just a little bit here, keep my eye on that time. Here is the most important tool that you want to listen to as it relates to the tools for growth. Make sure that your programs are fantastic. They're so fantastic that the community and other Rotarians are looking at what you are doing and they're calling it unprecedented. Those are the words that should be used when you are putting on your programs. Well, I'll give you an example. Here you go. Chicago, politics time. They love their politics in Chicago. One day they're going to get it right, trust me. So there was he was the hottest politician in town at the time because he took this guy by the name of Rahm Emanuel to a runoff. And everybody was just blown away that this guy was able to take Rahm Emanuel to a runoff. His name is Chuy Garcia. So I knew that we had some phenomenal people in our club who possibly knew Chuy Garcia. At the time, I believe he was on the Cook County board or something like that. So I knew that our member, you have the people in your club already. I knew that our member, Miss Karen Yarbrough, who is now the clerk of Cook County, I knew it was a possibility that she knew Chuy Garcia. Went to her, talked to her, I was right. I would love to have Chuy Garcia as our speaker, Ms. Yarbrough. She said, I'll shoot him over an email. A month later, he was a speaker at the club. Prior to him coming to be a speaker at the club, we took a look at all the dynamics that make Chuy Garcia just remarkable. First of all, he's revered in his community, in the business community, in the Hispanic community. They love him. He's a remarkable community activist. So we invited community activists. We invited business leaders within a 10 to 15 mile radius. We invited individual leaders in the Hispanic community. And it was time for the meeting. We had to close the door. Close the door. Had nothing to do with the 2 songs we sang. It had nothing to do with our remarkable 4-way test on that day. But it does have a lot to do with the 4-way test because those are our values and our vision. But all of those people were there. You got to get them there and tell them about you, and they'll see your values, and they'll hear about your 4-way test and remarkable songs that we sing. It had nothing to do with those things at that time, and everything to do with the brand, the person, Mr. Chuy Garcia. And when those people were there, we got a chance to shake hands and to meet all of those phenomenal people. That's one example, Chuy Garcia. Our speaker earlier today, she mentioned, I saw the photo on the screen there, a photo of Emmett Till. So for African American History Month, we had a slate of remarkable speakers. It was easy for us because the person who was a member of our club, and he passed away, may he rest in peace, a great friend of mine, Mr. Bill Hampton. Mr. Bill Hampton is the older brother of Mr. Fred Hampton. Mr. Fred Hampton, a Black Panther leader who was slain in the 60s. And so that's his brother. So I know that he has all the connections as it relates to civil rights and the civil rights movement. It's a phone call away. Father Flavor's a phone call away. Jesse Jackson is a phone call away. People all over the country, they're a phone call away. So I said, hey, I need some help with Black History Month. Can you help me out? I want to put together a remarkable program. He said, you want to put together a remarkable program? You're asking for my help? I said, yes, sir. He says, I've been in the club for quite some time. No one has asked for my help in that manner. I said, you're the man, and I want you to help me out with this. He said, you have any ideas? He called me the next day. He said, hey, guess who I'm good friends with? I said, who? I'm good friends with a gentleman who is the cousin of Mr. Emmett Till, and he was sleeping in the bed with his little cousin, Emmett Till, when they came and snatched Emmett Till from the bed and went and murdered him. I said, get out. He said, yeah. He'll be here to speak at the end of the month. We got him committed to come to speak. We put the word out to the respective people. We had to close the door. Now it's time to move from that venue to another venue. Champaign West, Champaign Rotary, Bloomington, 3 clubs, Peoria. It is easy. It's not hard to double that membership. It's not difficult at all. So that's how we started progressing, by just bringing in phenomenal speakers to the meetings and bringing in remarkable public servants, community activists, and making sure that we were bringing in these fantastic people and marketing it on social media and marketing it to the schools, to the police departments, all over, making sure that people knew about it and they came to be a part of that. The next tool for growth would be entertainment. That falls under the umbrella of making sure that your programming is fantastic. We can switch it up a bit. Bring in a local comedian for 20 minutes. Let him lighten things up a little bit. Promote it. He's going to be here. They're going to love him. When they love him, they love you. They love Rotary. Okay? Bring in a comedian. Bring in entertainment every once in a while. Bring in a saxophonist, and let him do a remarkable job. Everyone's going to love it. They're going to love him. They're going to love you. They're going to love Rotary. And the people are going to start coming from everywhere. You're going to have to tell everybody at the doors, close the doors. Put them on a waiting list for the next meeting. It's too crowded. We have a big problem on our hands. We have to figure this out. So we want to be sure that we are delivering remarkable programming. It's so fantastic that people around us are saying that it's unprecedented. I started getting calls from everywhere. What in the world are you guys doing in Maywood? And I was looking at the phone and said to myself, what in the world haven't you guys been doing all this time? And I just started sharing what it is that I had learned through trial and error. And other organizations, they started to use it, some didn't, some did, and it helped some of those clubs. Let's keep it going here. Let's keep it going. Thirdly, one of the tools for growth, and this is extremely important, we hinted on it earlier today, we want to be sure that we embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. Inclusion. It's not enough to say you want more women a part of Rotary. It's not enough to say we want to be more diverse. It's not enough to say we don't have enough African Americans, enough Asians, enough Hispanics, enough of the individuals from the LGBTQ community a part of our organization. It's not enough to say that. We have to move forward strategically, identify these remarkable people, recruit them, show them these remarkable events that we have, and bring them on board. It's not enough to say that we don't have 2 members a part of our club who are under the age of 30. It's not enough to say that. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. We want to be sure that the culture is ripe for remarkable growth when these phenomenal leaders, these phenomenal young people, when they start to come to our meetings. Please do not have your greeter greeting everyone, and he's the person who doesn't really smile a lot. Make sure that that person has a magnetic personality. He smiles. He knows how to meet people. He knows how to talk to people, because that's the first person they're interacting with. And we want to be sure that that interaction, that initial interaction, is a remarkable interaction. Okay? Let's keep going. At the end of the meeting, when Chuy Garcia finishes speaking, when such and such finishes speaking and you've got double or triple the amount of people that you normally have at your meeting there, the key point is not to keep inviting everybody who comes every week. The key point is to invite non-Rotarians. And after you've invited all of these remarkable non-Rotarians and they came to the event, here is the key. Who has the magnetic personality in the club? And that person should get up at the end of the meeting and say this. It's the pitch. Everyone, I want to thank you all so much for coming to our meeting. I know you enjoyed this remarkable speaker. I hope you had a fantastic time. We are Rotary. We are a phenomenal organization. We raise money all throughout the year to give it away to local organizations throughout the year. And we give to international global organizations all year long. And another thing we do is we meet weekly, or we meet bi-weekly. And we come and we just network with each other. We help each other to usher their careers, their ambitions, their goals in the right direction. If there is anyone in this room who is interested in joining our remarkable organization, hypothetically speaking, please raise your hand, just like this. When we're done, when we ring this bell, this meeting will be over. When we're done, please come to this table. Our assistant right here, she's going to take your name and your email address and we'll get back to you in 24 hours. That is it. You're going to see 5 people stand up here. You're going to see 3 or 4 people stand up here. You're going to see 5 or 6 people stand up here. And you're going to see a line of about 15, 16, 17 people coming up, depending on how large your club is. If your club is 100 members, 180 members, and you've got 120 members of that club, you're going to see a line of 20, 25 people coming up this way. They're going to give that information. A third or half of them are going to join the club. That's it. Am I making sense here, guys? Am I adding value to the organization here? That's my job. I want to be sure that I'm doing that to the best of my ability. So we said we want to implement Zoom. We want to make the programming fantastic using speakers, remarkable speakers, phenomenal entertainment. We want to embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion. Rotary International just presented a diversity, equity, and inclusion statement for all of Rotary all around the world. Take the time and go to Rotary's website to take a look at that statement. And we want to pitch Rotary at the end to all of those individuals. In this book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Growth. Look at that, it's ridiculous, it's crazy, it's crazy. So in this book, one of the laws is the law of explosive growth. The law of explosive growth simply says, if you want to add members to your organization, invite followers. If you want to multiply members in your organization, invite leaders. Strategically identify the leaders in your communities. Let's take a look at leaders at the hospital, the fire department, the police department, the elementary schools, the high schools. Let's take a look at those leaders. Example, we're at the hospital. The leaders may not be head of pediatrics. The leader may not be brain surgeon. The leader may not be the CEO, chief financial officer. The leader just may be that beautiful, wonderful registered nurse over there. You can always tell a leader because when a leader speaks, everyone's listening. They're getting around lunchtime and they're hovering around that person and having a remarkable conversation. So we want to go to the registered nurse, Miss Susie. Miss Susie, we've got a wonderful organization. It's called Rotary, The Pitch. I would love for you to come to our meeting. Here's one of our speakers. Wow, I always wanted to hear that. You're going to have that person here speaking? One of the Fortune 500, 40 under 40 in our field? Yeah, it's going to be our speaker. It's going to be our speaker here in about 2 weeks. I would love for you to come. So Susie, she comes to the meeting. She loves what she saw. And she took the information and she joined the club. But this is when magic happens. Susie went back to work. And it's lunchtime. Susie sits at her seat. And here comes 3 or 4 or 5 other nurses, other individuals that work for the hospital, and they're sitting down at the table with Susie. And everyone is in a hurry. They're talking. You know why they're talking? Because Susie is a remarkable leader and she's listening. She's doing this, and she's doing this. And she's listening to Johnny talking about the problems that he's having with his son, Michael. And she's listening to Jamie as Jamie is talking about the problems that she's having in her department here at the job. And she's listening to this person talk about the problems that she's having in another organization. And right when she listened to everybody, now everybody is ready to listen to her. Guys, have you ever heard of this organization called Rotary? Yeah, my dad used to be a part of an organization, I think it was called Rotary. Rotary is a phenomenal organization. I think you should come to this meeting that they're having. I joined the club. Look at this speaker that they're going to have there. What? He's going to be there? She's going to be there? Yeah, she's going to be here speaking in about 2 weeks. 8 of you are here. I would love it if you guys could come to the meeting. She invited 8. 5 came. 4 joined. And it's simple mathematics after this. Explosive growth. Instead of 1 member joining the club for that year or that quarter, and that's the young lady who was the leader at the hospital, you now have 1 plus 4 equals 5 from the hospital. You have 1 plus 4 equals 5 from the police department. You have 1 plus 4 equals 5 from the fire department. 1 plus 4 equals 5 from City Hall, from the elementary school. You don't have 2 or 3 members who join your club at the end of the year. You've got 5 plus 5 is 10, 15, 20, explosive growth. That's what will happen if you implement these tools into your club. Go home and implement it right away. So we want to be sure that we are implementing that law, the law of explosive growth, and all of those wonderful things. But now that we've had the time to talk about something, the organization, that's the easy part. Now it's time to talk about someone, and that's the hard part, and that's ourselves. A little while back, I was chit-chatting with a wonderful person. Her name is Miss Gianna Dubell. And Miss Gianna Dubell, at that particular time, she was the district governor nominee for a fantastic and remarkable district in South Africa. And we were talking, and we were talking about me coming out there to be the keynote speaker for her district conference. And I will be the keynote speaker for their district conference in Durban, South Africa in March of 2020. So we figured that all out. And so we were talking and we were trying to figure this thing out, and I sent over the questions that I sent out to prospective clients. And just normal questions. How many attendees do you expect to be there? Who's going to be in the room? You need to know who's in the room. Who's going to be in the room? A couple of more questions, and then important questions. I say, what are your expectations of me? What do you expect me to do? And what type of value are you looking for me to bring to your organization? Immediately she answered the first 2 or 3 questions, and I waited for about 4 or 5 hours. I didn't see the answers to the last 2 questions. I waited a day, it didn't come. After a couple of days I checked, and there was this answer. She says, Talei, I would love for you to come and show us how to revitalize Rotary and to show us how to grow our organization. I said, yes, ma'am. I'll be there, and I'll do the best I can to the best of my ability. Well, you revitalize an organization, Rotary, the same way you revitalize any organization, by revitalizing its leaders. When you revitalize the leaders, then the individuals who are following, they will become revitalized as well. It is up to the leaders to create the momentum in any organization and business. It's up to the leaders to do that. So that's how you revitalize any organization. Revitalize the leaders revitalize the membership, and you're moving in a remarkable direction. Well, you want to be sure that you are making sure that you are becoming better leaders. That's how you revitalize the leadership. You want to be sure that you are becoming a better leader each and every day. Well, how do we become a better leader? Well, the first law in this book, the law of the lid, it tells us how to become a better leader. The law of the lid simply says your leadership ability, here's my leadership ability, it is like a lid on your overall level of effectiveness. If your leadership ability is here, then your overall level of effectiveness cannot shatter this lid. So what you're going to have to do is, you're going to have to move that lid up 1 notch at a time. On a scale of 1 to 10, what do you think your leadership ability is? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest. Well, you think your leadership ability is about average. We're at about 6. Well, in order for you to get to your maximum level here, you're going to have to raise your leadership level to a level 7, to a level 8, to a level 9. And then your overall level of effectiveness, it comes on up to a level 8 itself. And that is the space where we want to dwell. Mr. Thompson, how do I raise this lid? You raise that lid by making sure that you're throwing as many good qualities of leadership inside that container as possible. And as you keep throwing these qualities inside that container, you're going to notice that the lid is rising because it's overflowing because you put so much good stuff inside. Man, Mr. Thompson, how do I acquire those characteristics of being a dynamic leader? How do I go about doing that? You got to let me know how to do it, and I thought you would never ask. And this is how you acquire these remarkable ingredients for leadership. When I was a little boy, 7, 8 years old, my family, every year, 3 or 4 times, we all always took this remarkable trip. And we couldn't wait to take this trip. All of my cousins, my aunts, uncles, father, mother, we couldn't wait for this trip. We took it so often and we had so much fun on the road. We all would get in our cars, about 4 cars, it's caravan of us, and hit the highway. Hit I-57 and we go on down. And we all loved the trip so much that we gave this trip a name. And we called this trip Going Down South. Doctor, now you see why we were connected. And down south for me is the Mississippi Delta. small town that they call Clarksville, Mississippi, where my grandmother on my mother's side is from, and then another small town called Marks, Mississippi, which is in between Clarksdale and in between Oxford University. Where's Oxford University? In Oxford. In Oxford University, where say it again? The University of Mississippi, and it's the crown jewel academic institution of higher learning in Mississippi. Ole Miss is what they call it. Ole Miss. I love Ole Miss. And so that's where I would go 2 or 3 times a year. So this particular year, my dad told me, he said, son, this summer you're going down south with your grandmother, and you're going to stay all summer long with your grandmother. I started jumping up and down. I'm super excited. I'm elated. Yeah, I'm going to be down south all summer long. I'm so excited about being down there all summer long because, as everyone knows, when you get that excited, there's always has to be a girl. And her name was Shauna Faye Benson. Shauna Faye is what they called her. And so I'm down there with my grandmother, and I'm doing all the chores that my grandmother's asking me to do. I'm taking care of everything she's asking me to do. And she wakes me up, and she says, hey, I need you to go out there to the chicken coop, and I want you to bring in 3 eggs. And I bring in 3 large brown eggs. You have not had eggs until you have had brown eggs from the South. And I bring the eggs in, and she cracks them, and she puts a little pepper and a tad bit of Lawry's seasoned salt on the eggs. And she puts in the skillet, and she put thick bacon in the skillet, and then she whipped up the batter. I said, yeah, you're making pancakes. That wasn't pancakes, son. These are flapjacks. You're about to have some flapjacks. I said, yes, ma'am. And I had the most delicious breakfast I'd ever had. And after I finished my breakfast, my grandmother, she says, baby, you've been doing a remarkable job on this farm. I want to know, what is it that you want for dessert? And I want to get you whatever it is that you want for dessert. And I thought about my buddies back home on the west side of Chicago. I thought about how we would play basketball for 5 or 6 hours. Then we would play strike 'em out baseball for another 2 hours. And then we would, any firemen in the place, please forgive me. Then we would cut on the fire hydrant, put a wooden plank right there in between it, put the tire around it, and the water would go up in the air, and then the whole community is covered with water. We're having a great time. Please forgive me. That's what we did as a kid. And then we would run from there. We would run to my house, sit on my porch, and everyone would wait for a sound. We were waiting for the sound of the ice cream. I said, Mother dear, I would do anything for some ice cream. My grandmother stood up, and she looked at her grandbaby, and she said, baby, do you want any old ice cream, or do you want some show-enough good ice cream? I said, Mother dear, I don't quite know what show-enough good is, but I think I'll have some show-enough good ice cream. And my grandmother, she walked past me, and she walked past the deep freezer. I said, where you going? The ice cream is right there in the deep freezer. She says, no, baby. The ice cream that I need to get for you is not in this freezer. Grandmother is going to have to make you some homemade ice cream. I said, who in the world makes ice cream? So she went into her room, she went into her closet, and she came out with her jacket on, though it was 99.5 degrees outside. And we got into my grandmother's car, the brown bomber, and I call it the brown bomber because it had rust marks all downside of it. And then we hopped in my grandmother's brown bomber, and then we drove down the gravel road. There's still gravel roads down in Mississippi. And we drove down the gravel road. If you can look behind you, all the smoke is going up behind you. And then we got on the pavement, and we got into town, and then we pulled into the grocery store, and it was called Piggly. There you go, there you go. So we get to Piggly Wiggly, and we get inside of the store, and my grandmother says, grab that handheld carton. I want you to get a bag of this. I want you to get a box of salt. I want you to get some more eggs because you ate all the eggs back at home. And I want you to get a box of sugar. And I want you to get this container of vanilla extract. That's going to get you your flavoring. And I want you to get this box here. This is the box for ice cream. And then I need you to get a bag of ice. I said, what do you need ice for? He said, baby, we're going to have to turn this cream into a solid. So we're going to need this ice. Hopped in the car, started going down the road. I am in the back seat. I'm having a good time. I'm about to enjoy some ice cream. And then out of nowhere, I take a look in the rearview mirror, and oh my God, she's pulling up alongside. It's Shauna Faye Benson. And I'm embarrassed because I'm in a brown bomber. So I started to stoop down in the back seat so no one can see me as they were coming by. I didn't want anybody to see my grandmother's car. My grandmother looked back at me and she swung and she hit me on the head. She said, boy, sit up in that seat back here. This girl isn't paying you any attention. Sit up in this seat. I said, yes, ma'am, and I stood up. And then the car, the yellow bomber, started coming up on the side of us, and I saw Shauna Faye, and she was stooping down too. She didn't want to be seen in a raggedy car either. And her big sister was driving. And the big sister looked over, and the big sister was going 3 miles an hour because my grandmother was going every bit of 2 miles an hour. Folks had respect for their elders back then. And so she looked over at my grandmother and she says, Miss Thompson, I want to come on out there to see you. How's everything going with you? She said, baby, everything is going okay. I'll be out there to see you. They had a 15-second conversation in traffic. Do you hear me? And so we made it back home, and my grandmother went into the room and she pulled out a wooden container. And then she set the wooden container on top of the deep freezer. And she got all of those ingredients and she put them all together inside the pot, cut the pot on, she stirred it, and then she got all those contents and she poured it inside of this wooden container. And then she poured ice around the wooden container. And then she looked at me and she started laughing. I said, well, what's so funny, mother dear? What are you laughing at? She says, baby, because my job is done. I've done my part. I've given you all of the necessary ingredients in order to reach your desired outcome. Now it is time for you to put some work behind these necessary ingredients. I learned a very valuable lesson at that moment in life. I learned that you're going to have to work for anything it is you want in life. And so my grandmother, she says, you see that handle on the side of there? We didn't have an extension cord on the side of that thing back then. It was a handle on the side of it. She said, you see that handle? She says, you're going to turn this handle. I'm an athlete, West Side Chicago. This is nothing. And I said, well, how long am I going to turn? She said, you're going to turn until I tell you to stop. And so I turned. My grandmother went in her room. And I turned. And I heard my grandmother, she was laughing in her room. She was enjoying watching 2 television shows. She was watching All My Children and One Life 2. There you go, there you go. And I kept on turning. And then I hollered out at my grandmother. I said, grandmother, is the ice cream ready yet? She says, baby, it's not ready yet. You just keep on turning. And I kept turning. 10 minutes later, grandmother, is it ready yet? She says, baby, the ice cream is not ready yet. You just keep on turning. And I'm sweating at this time. And I switched up hands. I didn't want my grandmother to see me do it, but I switched up hands. I'm tired of this arm. And then I turned, and then my grandmother, she hollered out. She says, baby, the ice cream is ready. And she came out of her room. She opened the container. And this stuff went from a liquid to a solid. I said, mother dear, I don't have any cousins around me. It's just you and I. And this is all mine, right? She says, yeah. I don't have time for a spoon. I'm tired. How can I eat it how I want to eat it, mother dear? She says, yeah. And I, oh my God. That is the best tasting ice cream I've ever had in my life. Learn a valuable lesson. You can reach your desired outcome if you have the necessary ingredients and making sure that you put remarkable work behind that. Well, what are some of the necessary ingredients that are needed in order to lift this lid? Remarkable ingredients of leadership. The most important ingredient of leadership, the most important one of them all is this: character. You have to be sure that each and every last one of us in this room, that our character is in order. Here it is. I'm going to throw something out at you, and I want you to catch it. We're Rotarians. We're talented and we're gifted. Don't let your talents take you someplace that your character cannot keep you. We see it all the time. We see politicians fall from grace because their character cannot keep them in that space. You see religious leaders fall from grace because their character cannot keep them in that space. If you work on your character each and every day, just being a better person, and this is how you'll find out if your character is getting better. Ask your wife. Darling, does it feel like
like I'm getting better at this integrity thing? Does it feel like, do you think I'm telling little bitty lies on Mondays? And I'm not, darling, trust me. I'm really working on just being a better person. Little small stuff like, you asked me to go to the store, and I told you I went, but I really didn't go. And I know you can sense when I'm not telling the truth, but I'm working on it. Yeah, baby, I can tell. You're getting better at it. And you want to get better at it each and every day. So we want to work on our character to be better individuals and to be better leaders. That's number one. Number two, we want to make sure that we are trustworthy, that we can be trusted. My son, 11 years old at that time, he was playing for the Humboldt Park Baseball League, not too far from Logan Square. Somebody said he lived in Logan Square for a little bit. The Humboldt Park Baseball League, and I've been teaching leadership to my son for a long time, whether he's been watching me teach leadership for a very long time, and my son was in a very disciplined baseball league, but this year I took him to a different baseball league, a little bit much so in the inner city. And I watched my son as he started acting like the individuals in his environment, as opposed to acting like the way that I know Dad had taught him. And I got him in the car. I said, son, I'm noticing that you're acting up a little bit here, and you're not being a leader. I says, well, what's going on? And you guys are not winning. You won all the time over there. He says, Dad, I don't know them and they don't know me. And I said, well, talk to me, son. He says, well, with the team over in Humboldt Park, Dad, we practice 2 or 3 times a week, and then I was throwing the ball to the shortstop, and when we first started off, he would miss it, and after doing it enough times, he started catching it every single time, and I learned that I could trust throwing the ball to him, and he learned that he could trust throwing the ball to me, but it took time. And my son, my 11-year-old, he taught me a very valuable lesson. When we're learning to trust each other, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time. So number one, we want to be sure that our character is in order. Number two, we want to be sure that we are improving in this area of trust. Number three, we want to be sure that we value what our members value. Take a listen to what it is that they want to do and value that. Fourthly, we want to be sure that we have faith in people. Have faith in the individuals who you have asked to come and be the chair of this particular department, this particular committee. You wouldn't even ask them to be the chair of the committee if you didn't think that they could get the job done. So don't micromanage them. You knew they had the ability to do it. Have faith in that ability. And make sure that they trust you enough to where when things are not going well, they're going to pick up a phone and call you. And you guys can work it out from there. So we want to be sure that we have faith in our people. We want to be sure that we connect with people. Guys, this isn't rocket science. Figure out what you have in common. That's how you connect with people. This gentleman and I, first day I ever met him was this morning. Was it this morning? Yes, it was this morning. And I was sitting down at a table. He decided to come sit at the table. You would think we would have nothing in common. But we had a lot in common. And we figured out what we had in common. He started to talk. I said, what are you here this weekend for at the hotel? He said, I'm here for the Rotary conference. It's number one. We have that in common. I said, really? He said, yeah, my wife and I were part of Rotary. My wife is doing some phenomenal things as an individual in leadership. I said, is that right? He says, yeah, she's a speaker at the event. I said, get out of here. I said, I was a speaker too at the event. We've got more and more in common. So I started to scoot my chair over to him a little bit because I started to trust him a little bit more because we were connecting. And then the conversation moved on, and then he started talking about where he's from. I could hear it in his voice. I know where he was from. It's 2 places. He's from Mississippi, and he told me he's from Mississippi. I said, really? I said, my grandmother, my grandfather, they're all from Mississippi too. And I said, where are you from in Mississippi? He says, well, I lived a little bit up in I'm in the southern part of Mississippi where I've never been, by the way. I don't know what a beach looks like in Mississippi. You hear me? I'm coming down, right? And he says, I'm living down here in this part of Mississippi, the Gulf Coast, correct? And he says, but I'm from up here in this part of Mississippi. I said, I'm from up there too, in the Delta. He said, yeah, I'm not too far from Tunica. That's what he told me. I said, where the casinos are? I said, I spent my summers down the street. our chair got closer because we started connecting. Went over to that gentleman back there, gentleman D. Brown, wave your hand for me. So he and I, we started talking. He says, what club are you a part of? I said, sir, I'm a part of the Maywood Proviso Club. Thought I was saying something. He shut me up real quick. He says, that's where D. Brown is from, isn't it? I said, what? You know D. Brown, huh? Yeah, D. Brown, he's from Maywood. And he came down to Champaign, and they set the world on fire when they went to the Final Four. We connected right there. Now we have other things to talk about. You will be blown away at what people start off a conversation with me with when I go to Rotary Club meetings all over our state. I want to share with you. Like, what are you talking about? Let's just talk. And as we're talking, we're going to figure out what it is that we have in common. So we want to be sure that we are connecting with people, and then we also want to be sure that we are empowering people. That we are empowering people once they come into our organization, that we are giving them leadership responsibility. We are listening to what it is that they want to do. They are telling us what it is that they want to do, and then we are placing them on these committees. We are placing them in areas of leadership. And before you know it, these folks are going to be coming from everywhere. You got to be sure that your culture is right to experience this remarkable growth that each and every last one of you are going to experience. My name is Talei Thompson, and it has been an absolute pleasure being your keynote speaker tonight. Thank you.